All right, we are live. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, Air Force Wingman Outreach family. My name is Drea, and we are doing another episode of AFWO Speaks. We are on episode 11. Oof, feels like a while, but here we are. And as always, Air Force Wingman Outreach at gmail.com is where you can reach us. You can email us for any questions you have, any information or any resources that you want to seek out anonymously. We'll post it to the page. We'll bring the people in, and we'll rally around as we always do. Or you can go to the top of the page on Facebook, go to membership, see the admins and the moderators, and then click message, and then you'll be able to reach one of us at any time, at any point. We will get back to you as soon as possible. So with that, it is Self-Care Sunday, y'all. Okay. And I got the Baby Yoda shirt on because I'm just feeling like we need to chill. I got the sunflower, I got the dispenser in the back. We are chilling today, and we got our squared on. We got Rob and Elise on. How are y'all doing today?
Hello, good afternoon. We're doing great. How are you?
Hey, I am lovely. I am lovely. I am super excited to talk to y'all today. It has been we get to Sunday and we get that anxiety build, right? We get the anxiety build of the week to come, and it's hard to chill. It's hard to chill. It's hard to not think about the future or Monday, case of the Mondays, what we all got to do during the week. And man, this could not be more timely for a lot of us, myself included, to where, you know what, sometimes we just got to pause and take care of ourselves. And so the self-care aspect, which I do think is becoming more popular, is still something that we need to remember how to practice, just like riding a bike. We have to teach ourselves it's normal, it's okay to do it. And so that's why I asked for y'all to come on to really expand on that to our folks, to our 39.8 thousand members, and whoever else comes in and wants to join us. But for those who are joining us currently, we have Rob and Elise on. We appreciate them coming on. And so we're going to go ahead and start off with, I'm going to allow them to introduce the background of themselves. But the first thing I want to get on is why I brought them on. Okay. So the first thing I did was excuse me, with all of these interviews, I normally go to the page and I search and I look for a lot of people that are engaging, people that are most engaging, how the membership is reacting to the things that they post. And Rob was one of the people that I was just like, okay, he has a lot of these good self-care tips, and I'm taking them in and I'm reading them. I'm reading the comments, and people are like, yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's me. And I'm like, okay, wow, that is such a topic that I think we need to discuss. And so I was like, I gotta get him on. And so here he is. And we also know that, every person needs a support system, and we got at least two. So it's like, hey, they are a package deal. So we really appreciate them coming on. So can y'all give the people a little background on yourselves?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you again for inviting us to talk today on self-care. We appreciate that. So like she said, I'm Elise. I'm originally from Florida, and I've been in the military for over 15 years now. And I'm originally a diagnostic imaging technologist, and I've been a first sergeant for the last 3 years. I really love taking care of people, whether it's in my medical world or as a first sergeant. For me, it re-energizes me, and I find a purpose in doing so.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me on here. It was funny as you see those posts on self-care and stuff like that. I'm like, that's me too. I need that stuff in my life. I think it's funny because I get just as much out of it by sharing it. So I'm Rob. Most everybody knows me as Red. I'm originally from upstate New York. Definitely have a non-regular upbringing. When I was a teenager, I dropped out of high school. I was homeless. I'm one of those super senior people, 2 senior years. I was saved and raised by my community. So if anybody's out there listening, definitely appreciate you guys. I originally joined the Air Force for 9/11. I joined as a dirt boy. I served 10 years as a dirt boy. I was deployed to Bagram. I had a back injury at age 26. Back surgery resulted in an MEB where the Air Force wanted to release me and send me back into the wild. And this was during the economic downturn. and it was really tough. However, the good news is fought it. They returned me to duty, and then I was able to retrain in imagery analysis, became a first sergeant, served 4 years as a first sergeant, and now I currently serve as a superintendent for the director of personnel over at NASIC, also leading a charge with the resiliency, respect, and readiness program, and also the diversity, equity, inclusion program, along with a lot of great other people, and just trying to take care of people as much as I possibly can.
Well, that is a great, oh my goodness, those are great introductions, because it's all about the human side, showing all the struggles we go through on a regular basis, and how the things that we post on a daily basis is very much for ourselves, not just for other people, but it's like, look, I'm feeling it too, so it's very awesome that y'all can also be so relatable. So let's start off with, self-care is such a broad thing, but why is it so important? And we can tie it to military aspect, but I definitely feel it. It's just a human requirement, like taking a shower, like going to sleep, like, to me, it should, I'm working on it myself to practice for it to be a part of my daily regimen. What do y'all think?
Yes. So self-care is extremely important. You're talking about sleep, you're talking about those things, and it all ties together. So here's a moment of vulnerability for me. I want to share why is it important to me. When I was a first sergeant, when I first became a first sergeant, or with the ops group at Beale, we had a U-2 plane crash, and one of the pilots, who well-known instructor pilot, passed away. And on top of that, my first year as a first sergeant, we had about 7 other deaths in the unit, from dependents to suicides and so many other things that were going on. At one point, I was tracking my own travels, and I spent about 350 hours in 1 month in my car traveling around. And there was no way I could take care of myself on top of taking care of everybody else. During that time, my personal life was definitely crumbling, and I definitely had to leave California. So I definitely rolled the dice, and I volunteered for assignment over in Korea, hoping for a break. However, when I got to Korea, it was definitely a fire hose from the start. Had an amazing unit, the CE Red Devils.
Shout out to CE. Cool. Go ahead.
Definitely a little red hot hool or shit hot hool, however you want to say it. That's how they say it. So I'm definitely down with that. Great commander. About 4 months in, I was a first responder to a suicide attempt, and it hit me hard. At the time, I was also taking 2 master's classes, studying for promotion, failed marriage, trying to support the council that was definitely in the middle of a PCS transition. So a group of shirts coming in and out and trying to keep all those plates spinning. Realistically, it was too much, and I definitely burned out. Self-care is important to me because I don't want anyone to have to experience that. It was terrible. However, it was easily preventable if I was definitely more self-aware.
Yeah. Andrea, you mentioned just getting ready for the work week, and maybe like those stress and anxiety levels that you feel, whoa, what's to come in this week? Or I have so many tasks going on, and it's just a lot to think about. So for me, self-care is a break from my daily life stressors, or from just getting ready for the work week. I can just take a break out of my weekend, or maybe during the week. It depends on my schedule. But I find that it recenters me, it re-energizes me. I'm able to refocus for that next work week, or for whatever it is that's lying ahead. And ultimately, I'm able to address daily stressors with more energy, less anxiety. And if I practice it, like you said, it's to be embedded, to be deliberate throughout our lives.
So can y'all give me an example of, something that y'all do to get y'all to just give me one example of something that brings you that type of energy, or brings you that type of calm.
Yeah. So for me, I love to run. Call me strange. I hear it a lot. What? You love to run? Like somebody chasing you? No, I'm just kidding. So for me, I really love to run and exercise. And I find that really exerts a lot of my stress or anxiety. And I'm able just to feel calm and able to refocus. Rob?
Yeah, for me, I don't know, it's twofold. I'm definitely an introvert, but I love doing outside things. So hiking is my big go-to. Recently learned how to play guitar too, so I'm still terrible. So please don't ask me to play. But yeah, it's one of those things where you just you grab the bull by the horns and you just go out there and you give it a try.
I know for me, I practice meditation, and it is amazing. And I have anxiety, so it's amazing by the ability to just focus on your breathing or focus on something else other than what's going on up here. Because my mind is racing at, like, I mean, NASCAR, we're going Daytona, we're just going laps, about everything, about everything that's going to happen on Monday up until Monday comes, and then it's almost like you've worked a full work day before you even came to work, because mentally you've pushed yourself to digest all that before you even get in the act. And
Mhm.
so, how do you come to a full pause? How do you come to the point where you're like, I can actually look at a Sunday night and it's just a regular day. It's just a regular day versus a day before a Monday that I have to go to work. Because think about the difference in dynamic between a Monday and a Friday. A Friday, you're like, man, listen, I am, we're all pumped, we're juiced, we're ready to go. We're like, hey, it's the weekend, it's great. And then we get to Sunday and it's like struggle bus. And I just wish, perfect world, that I could like have the Friday energy to go into a Monday like that. Like if I could carry even 50% of that, that would be great.
And it's funny you mentioned that because even I think everybody, a lot of folks struggle with that, is the fact that when you put your head down on the pillows when your best ideas come to you. and I think everybody, like even for myself, even last night as I was preparing for this, we spent hours trying to figure out, to cage this beast of a mouth of mine and try to figure out what we're going to talk about and share with you guys. But the realistic part is I put my head on the pillow and I just started like, oh wow, this is a really great idea too. And next thing you know, I'm 10 miles deep and I haven't even moved an inch.
Mm, it's crazy. It's crazy. With that, I know y'all already kind of hit it on what y'all did, but what made you bring the tips to the page? I know you kind of mentioned that you felt a level sense of self-importance based on the experience that you went through in your personal life, but then you brought it to AFWO, and I was just amazed at the level like of gravitation that it brought to people, because it's almost like we know we should be doing it, we want to do it, we
Mhm.
don't do it. And so it's what what is the content like? Where do you find the I guess I don't want to say drive, but why bring it here, to Air Force Wingman Outreach?
Burnout is a real thing.
Hmm.
Uh, and I'm just gonna, I'm huge on human performance. I'm huge on being the best I can be to serve my country. I'm huge on making sure that my teammates feel the same way and have the same opportunities to thrive. So I'll start off with a definition: burnout. Prolonged response to chronic and emotional interpersonal stressors on the job, at home, and is defined by the three dimensions of emotional exhaustion, cynicism, and efficacy. Did I say that right? Efficacy. That was
It's all
real.
good. It's
I'm
all
alive
good, Rob.
today,
We get you.
folks.
We get you, man.
Self-care Sunday. All right. And then the general idea behind burnout is that people give more than they're capable to a job, exhaust their mental and perhaps physical energy, and consequently withdraw from the organization. And behind the scenes, as a first sergeant, as a leader, as a peer, as a friend, as just myself, I've seen that. I've experienced that. Realistically, I share on this page because I know that the majority of people out there have something going on in their life, whether it's major or small or major to them. Um, People are dealing with PTSD, trauma, family issues, high stress, shift work, first responder stressors, high deployment rates, high alcohol, high tobacco use, physical issues, sleep problems, anxiety, high ops tempo, Adjusting to military life is an issue, lacking the life skills to deal with stress, lacking stress management skills, depression, suicidal ideations, divorce, child support issues, previous PTSD prior to military service, sexual traumas, physical abuse, spousal depression, anxiety, and other issues, communication problems, peers, addiction, off-base safety, medical issues that are definitely not resolvable, coping with separation, post-military life, time management, anger management, work-life balance, marriage issues, conflict resolution, new parents, deaths in the family, grieving, coming home from deployment, COVID issues, financial issues, and off-base medical care issues, all the things. I know people are definitely feeling that.
Man, and oh my goodness, when you were listing that, it was almost like a checklist. I'm not even gonna lie to you, Rob. Like it was like, yep, did that, had that, and it almost is mind, like pun intended, but mind body, like your brain is exploding from that. Like burnout is not even a joke. You know what I mean? And it's almost like your body is responding to it first. It's letting you know first before your mind can catch up to physically like kind of combat that. And
Yeah.
so it's the the load, man, the load is something serious. And so this is where to me the burnout is the symptom, self-care is the treatment. Do y'all agree?
I do. And I would even say that self-care is preventative.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to
Talk
help.
about it. Talk about it, at least. You said it's the preventative.
I would say self-care is preventative to allow those stressors that you said is a checklist. And oh my goodness, there's a checklist in my own personal life too. But for me, that self-care by running or just going hiking, riding my bike, or just going outside and just being in the sun, or just being mindful of the beautiful weather that's starting to break here where we're located. It just helps deal with those issues a little bit better. And you find what works for you before you potentially spiral. And I know for me, I've done that. Like I'm really good at catastrophically thinking. I don't know about you. Like you said, you're on Daytona, right?
Oh yeah, we running that lap into the tires are falling off, the vehicle's on fire. I I have completely went off the road. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's the preventative aspect to me. And I think the burnout comes from the point of mind where you're creating so many psychological barriers to where you can't even get out of your own way.
That's
Like
right.
you have already, like, I know for me, I go down that rabbit hole and I'm down there and I'm just like, man, look, the building's on fire. I'm just sitting here like everything's fine, like that meme, just looking around, looking around and trying to figure out what to do with all that. So, go ahead, Rob, what you got?
This is fine.
Yeah, this is
okay.
Fine. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a true thing.
Or even just staying for me, like connected with my family and reaching out to them, that really helps. Just maybe even venting to them about what I'm feeling or what I'm going through, and then to tell me like, hey, calm down, or get my mind off of it and refocus on something different.
And somebody commented on the page, dealing with special needs is family issues, EFMP.
Mm-hmm.
And as somebody, I haven't been a part of the process, but I know people that have been through, and it is just it's just an uphill battle. And I can't imagine the level of frustration just trying to go through that process. So Rob listed like, man, it was a lot, but it still felt like only like a micro, like a 1% of what it is that we deal with, because we never know what life will throw at us. So, okay, one hand, we got burnout, we got all those issues Rob listed, and then we got the self-care stuff in another hand, right? But why can't we make the connection? Like, why do y'all think that people don't do it? What is it? What is holding us back? Like, what is it to where, or even in your own personal experience? Like, I know for me, I'm very hard-headed. and I just know that I can do it all. I don't need sleep. I don't need to eat. I don't even need to breathe. I'll just go ahead and, try to do whatever I need to do, because I have so much pride. I have so much pride and so much care in what I like doing that I'm like, I don't want to disappoint people. I don't want to let people down. So I'm just going to keep rolling. And then my body's like, yo, Dre, you got to lay down. You got to go to sleep. You got to take leave. You got to do this. But what in your opinion, y'all perspective, do you think is preventing people from going there?
Yeah, so I feel like our society as a whole is super busy, and we are running back and forth, whether it's going to school for ourselves or raising children, maybe single parents, or just really busy deployments, whatever that may be. And perhaps folks are just not creating enough time in their lives, like carving out that schedule for their own self-care, because it is important, and we should try to make it as much as we can into our daily schedule, or at least often throughout the week. Like you said, mindfulness and meditation, whatever that looks like for folks, where they just feel recentered. But I do feel like we can get too busy where we're like, whoa, where did our time go today? It flew by, and dang, now it's time for bed. Like,
Yeah,
you just
sure.
I woke up and so much has happened. I'm exhausted by the end of the day. So that's probably why folks may be lacking self-care. And I do like what you said. I thought that really hit home for me too, is you don't want to let folks down, and you're always going and going, and that could lead to burnout. And for me, I know at one point I've had to just take in me like, oh, I need to just calm down for a little bit. I can't put all these projects on my plate because I need to get right first mentally. So I thought that was really good that you brought that up, because I was like, oh, but I don't want to disappoint my supervisor, but sometimes you just need to, whether that's a year, a few months, a few weeks, it's okay. We all have stuff going on, and life happens for sure.
Yeah. And to add to, what she's saying, there's a lot of folks out there, folks with special needs. You don't get an off button, to take a break. You literally are working 24/7 to not only maintain the job, but also take care of your family. And I can understand how exhausting it could be, especially if you don't have all the resources right there or the support you need to do that. Also, we have many folks who have deployed numerous times, and in some cases, to our combat controllers and our PJs and our folks who've had very traumatic things happen to them, and then have to come home trained to go back out and do it again, while their whole personal life, like you were saying, then that meme is on fire, and then just to come back and do it again and do it again and do it again. And, you see a lot of folks getting to the point of survival mode, and to where they're self-medicating, severe sleep issues, relationship and money problems, exhaustion, anxiety, depression, no hope, weight gain, stressed out, burnt out. And that's why I'm a major advocate, for the resources being closer to the people in their daily missions, so they can practice self-care. And that's something I'm super passionate about, making sure other folks have access to better care so they can thrive and at least recover from the things that they've been through. We all deserve those resources and that opportunity. And that really, as a whole, makes us better airmen, better family members, better as a whole, as a society, because we don't get control over the digital age we serve in. And how many emails are in my inbox right now? Like probably 10 million. And everything's an emergency and the most important thing in the world, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I'm going home. I'm going home.
That's something we got, man. I felt you on that email aspect, because I'm telling you, like, I tell my folks that, like, it's a bottomless pit. It is, you are never going to really feel like a champion, like get the belt and say, I conquered email. Yeah. Yes. You know what I mean? Because it's just one of those things where, everything can flow in so fast. And you're only one person. And, the email is there, but then you got all the inside influences. You got people, you got phones, you got this, you got tasks, you got regulation requirements, meetings, blah, blah, blah. Like, it is so much a level of content. But to what you said, Rob, where you were like, I'm going home, that hit me, because I don't know, like, I don't know about y'all, but I know I don't know how I've had to, and people have come to me and said, "You leaving?" You know? And I'm just, no, I got this. I mean, I got to get this done. And then they're like, nobody's here right now to answer anything that you got to say. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So just pull the cat out, pull the cat out. I had a friend tell me. And he was just like, take your thumb and take the bottom of your finger and pull the cat out. That's all you got to do. And I was like, okay, bet. But, but we're so engaged that I don't know. It's definitely a concern. But what kind of put in my mind is that it definitely needs to be made like a conversation that's constant, something that we normalize, just like we do with everything else. We talk about the basic stuff about zero tolerance for this, sexual assault, all these other things and regulations and guidelines. But this should definitely be something that like we emphasize from the bottom to the top, because chances are, it's people probably aren't doing it because they aren't hearing enough about it. They ain't hear enough about it. They ain't feeling like it's okay or it's comfortable, or they're not seeing people doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like they always say, you're being watched most of the time. And so if they're seeing me, sorry, such and such, sitting at my desk till like 6 or 7 o'clock at night, they like, man, she really don't go home. Like, okay, that's what we need to do. That's how you get the job done. No, it's not how you get the job done.
You make you make a solid point there, because right now we're in a unique situation of COVID and teleworking. And, I know I have this conversation with a lot of folks. I know my biggest joy was actually getting back to go to work so I could set up those boundaries and those routines and leaving it at work. There's been many times when, throughout the day, you do some work, you do some life, you do some work, you're then next thing you know, it's 7, 8 o'clock. And I've seen emails come in at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning from people stateside, and I'm like, what are you guys doing to yourselves? And I see them in the office the next day, and I look them in the eyeball, and I'm like, what was that all about? What kind of example are we trying to set here? What kind of pace are we trying to set here? And at what point is the system going to look at itself and say, what is healthy for us to thrive? Because I don't know if we're there yet.
Yeah, we're definitely, the COVID thing, I think, was another mental obstacle that none of us were prepared to deal with. And so with that, um, we we were kind of lost. I know, for speaking for myself. I was like, okay, take my computer home. Okay, and don't come back. Retirement. No, that's not what you mean. Okay, cool. And you're trying to get adjusted to that, but you got your family in your face. You got your dog, you got this, you got the dishes piling up, you got everything around you in your face that normally you don't have to see day after day. And times that by X amount of months, and you're in a whole different ball game there. And self-care from that aspect was, just leaving the house, just going for a walk, like.
That's right. Like he said earlier, he's like, just going out and picking weeds. Like that is okay.
Yeah, exactly. Because it was you had it was like it reversed. It was like going to work and your home was your safe space. And then the flip side is like, okay, your home has become your work zone. And anything outside of that bubble is a safe space, because now your dynamics have bleeded into the same environment. And so now we're trying to get back into that thing. Now we're trying to go back to quote unquote what it was before. And another mental obstacle of being like, you know, I'm gonna go to work and I'm gonna try to get my footing again and get used to seeing people, but still socially distance, stay from people, wear masks, all that other stuff. So it's a challenge. What, do y'all have advice for people, like, in general? Like, say I'm, somebody who's just like, I got all these problems piling up in front of me. I'm not sure what to do. Um, and then, you're talking about the self-care stuff, and I'm just like, well, I take a shower, I do the basics, I eat food. Like, why is this something that I need to look into?
Yeah. So, story time.
All right.
So I told you guys about how I burned out in Korea. Very humbling experience for sure. And I actually reached out to a resource, an MPLAC, and it turned out that I related to him because he shared a lot of similarities through his life of things he had to deal with. And during the first meeting, he literally gave me this sheet of paper and said, take this home and be honest with yourself and see where you're at and let me know. And
What sheet is that, if you don't mind sharing?
honestly, it's a survey of stress symptoms.
Mm.
And on this survey, and it's on my LinkedIn article and all that good stuff. I'm
Yeah.
not here to diagnose anything. Disclaimer.
Sure.
What I'm really trying to highlight here is self-awareness is probably the most important first step you can take to self-care.
Okay.
So inside of this survey is 52 stress symptoms, from psychological to physical symptoms, right? Anxiety, depression, difficulty concentrating, forgetful, hyper, overwhelmed, irrational thoughts, confusion, unreality, mood swings. That's just a few of the psychological. Digestive problems, constipation, headaches, muscle tension, lower back pain, nausea, numbness, tingling, sweating, fatigue, high blood pressure, sleep disturbance, appetite disturbance. Those are some of the physical ones. So on here is 52 stress symptoms. And when I took it during that time frame, I actually hit the highest score of 46. And I was like, wow, man, I did.
And what's the highest score? 46 is the high score?
No, 46 was my score. And it's a high score that I wish upon nobody because I know how.
Oh, I got you.
My whole body was shutting down. This was right when, first responder suicide attempt, and literally didn't sleep for a month, and my whole body was failing. I mean, my mental state was definitely not there. And so I compiled all those numbers, 40, and then I looked down here and it says number of checked items, and it says 8 to 14 are moderate, and it says 22 plus is very high. And I'm like, I doubled that score.
Yeah.
I was like, that's ridiculous. Like, then it took me forever to unwind it. So I was in real bad shape, and it took me a long time to reduce those stressors to a healthy level. But the good news is we all feel stress at a certain way, and health can be used in a healthy manner. Stress is a biological requirement for growth. However, having too much of it can lead to burnout. And for me, and for a lot of folks, it's important to have the right mindset to deal with stress. And that's where I talk about growth mindset, right? Failure is an opportunity to grow. Challenges help me grow. And that's kind of like the growth mindset right there, right? I can learn my way out of this. It helps you find healthy ways of coping to better days. And you can kind of look at, healthy coping and unhealthy coping, right? I think we've all been down those roads, right? Overeating, procrastinating, social withdrawal, aggression, sleeping too much or too little. Those are unhealthy ways of dealing with some of those stressors. But some of the healthy ways are, exercise, talking about your problem. I know for me, I had to talk about the problems I was facing. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I worked through it. Healthy eating, routines, seeking professional help. That's really important. I've used MFlex, chaplains, Military One Source, talk to mental health. They're there. They're there to help you get to better days for sure. Social support. I didn't have a lot of friends in the beginning, and I have my best friend right here, and she's been my wingman. Oh man, I did it. All right. But she's literally, helped me, especially after a couple of years of being a first sergeant. I can say I didn't have control over the things that I had to deal with, taking care of airmen. And, as an empath, I take in people's feels.
Ooh, I'm an empath too. Shout out to empaths, because we truly can. Oh wow. That touched my soul right there.
like literally when you can have folks pouring their lives in you and their guts are out on the table, and you just feel it when they're talking, and then you go home and how do you offload that, or how do you go from counseling sessions all day long, and then counseling sessions at nighttime when you're responding to stuff, and then throw life on top of that in your own stuff, it does become overwhelming. So you have to learn a healthy coping strategy. Having a growth mindset definitely helps that, because it says, okay, I know I'm not in a good spot, and that's where self-awareness is important. And that's that kind of really helped me out. So having a survey like this to count your stressors and see if you have too many of them, that's a good first start to self-care.
Identification.
Mhm.
Identification of what you got going on. What you think, Elise? You got some advice for the people?
Yeah, so like I told you, I took a knee for, I don't know, let's call it a year. And for me, I was like, I'm just gonna keep pushing through. I am good. I'm gonna avoid all these thoughts and how I'm really probably feeling. And yeah, that probably wasn't the healthiest way. So I think that's great to really just be able to look in the mirror or on a survey or just by talking to somebody that is trained to be like, oh, okay, yeah. So you're telling me a lot of stressors or a huge stressor that you're dealing with. Here's some great coping skills to get through it. All of which I did not do. And
Hey, self-awareness.
yes,
That's
I was like, let's throw myself into work,
yeah.
and like you said, work those long hours and probably not the healthiest way to take care of yourself.
Well, we know what not to do, right? Like most of the time, thank y'all for sharing that, because honestly, like this is like we're not all professionals on this, you know what I'm saying? We're purely just people that like have had experiences that we're sharing. And on top of that, it's like, look, man, I've been the person, and sometimes I find myself, I've been the person that's like, somebody had to tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, look, Drea, I see you're doing great, but that's enough. You know what I mean? Just like, you go into a buffet and all you can eat, that's enough. Put that food down. You don't need to keep eating it. You're about ready to be sick. You know what I mean? So I think it starts with the self-awareness first, like knowing that you have things you need to work on. Then to Rob's point, identifying what those points are, saying like, hey, look, I'm stressed. I'm probably a workaholic. I don't sleep much. I don't this, I don't that. And then, hopefully reaching out to somebody and being able to diagnose, get help with that, implement practice, and hopefully becoming that better human being, that healthy person, mentally as well, because I'm telling it's such a world of difference. Like you're happier, your body is responding to it better. Like I know for me, I exercise definitely, and I'm just, people will be like, man, we see you just, look like you're going to destroy the treadmill. Like the treadmill is going to fall to pieces hitting it. And I'm just like, you don't understand. That is everything. That is everything that is on my shoulders is currently going into that exercise. So, better out than it. We got a comment in the chat saying about burnout is big over here in Europe, especially with constant lockdowns. Shout out to our overseas people, because the difference in rules and the difference in rules for our countries are, we don't have any control of that. And so it is here, CONUS, we can't necessarily relate to that because ultimately we have a little bit more freedoms. But for our folks in England and Europe and all that stuff, like shout out to y'all. I know you guys are like up and down like a roller coaster. So this is also for y'all too. Like we can't emphasize enough how it is about keeping your head up, communication. I know that the Zoom calls can be by exhaustion, for sure, but man, you definitely reach out to someone or reach out to us if you need help. Another comment was COVID sunset walks around the neighborhood saved me! Exclamation point.
Yes.
Dig that. Shout out to Kimberly Pollard. She said that comment. And then we got one comment from Jay Will. What advice would you give to senior NCOs? And what advice to be any different to our junior enlisted about this topic?
Yeah, I think you nailed that where you said lead by example. So for our NCOs who are out there leading airmen and their peers, perhaps take folks out with you and practice self-care like on the weekend or whatever that may be, a hike in the woods together or go out for bike rides, whatever that may be, a run, and just really take care of each other and try to embed it as a lifestyle for all of your work center and your folks.
For all my senior NCOs out there and folks who've been in a hot minute, we've been at war for so long. We've been in conflict with so many other countries. We've been doing so much for for our country that, you know, I can see it to the point where a lot of senior NCOs feel the burnout themselves with family issues, with multiple deployments, and they're just done. And then all the changes that are constantly coming, and the COVID hitting people. I'm watching a lot of my friends, you know, hit the button and retire, and congratulations to them for sure. Absolutely, absolutely wish them the best and success. But when I look at how we're leading our folks right now, what are we doing ourselves to lead by example? You know, a lot of folks that I've run into from senior NCOs, you know, they all have great, amazing stories, and their reasons for where they're at are fairly legit, like nothing against anybody. And I can feel what a lot of folks have been through. I mean, you go through multiple PCSs, uprooting your family, no support systems, to the, you know, you might have something happen at base and X, and then you go to the next base and nobody knows. And then you're kind of, you just start that floating, droning path and all of that. So my biggest thing is, you know, we always talk about mental health being a support system, but there's so many resources out there that are at a much lower level that are definitely there to help out. And I think obviously there's a lot of barriers, invisible barriers that we don't necessarily know about, or resourcing issues. But if you're practicing self-care, you're utilizing these resources at a lower level. And this includes the Airman Family Readiness Center.
Mhm.
Those guys, as a shirt, I didn't know how awesome they were until all the things that I see constantly going through, all the classes that they hold, all those things. You just have to be willing to go in there and just make the time for it.
Mm, mm,
MPLACs, military family life counselors, those guys are solid gold, and we don't utilize them enough. Some bases, they come in waves. Sometimes they're there and sometimes they're gone. And I think the biggest heartbreak I have is a lot of folks just don't even know that they exist,
mm,
and they don't utilize them, and they don't understand when you're having a bad day, a bad breakup, having some sleep stuff, you just need to get something off your chest, and you just want to talk it out.
mm,
That's the person you go to.
Mhm.
A lot of times they say going to your supervisor is what you're supposed to do, but I'm being real with you. There's just some things I'm not going to tell my supervisor.
mm, mm,
I
mm.
think that's appropriate. You know, I'm not going to
Yeah.
tell them that.
It's a trust thing.
Yeah. And I could tell you as a first sergeant, you know, there's a lot of times where troops don't trust their supervisors, and, you know, they'll come to the shirt looking for the help, you know. And I remember during some of my journeys, I would spend so many hours counseling folks because they didn't trust their supervisors, and that's perfectly okay. And then we get them to a helping agency, and that's, you know, I'd call Military One Source with them and help them get a counselor for free to help them through the lower level stuff that they were dealing with. But they held on to it for so long because they didn't know where to turn to, because they felt hopeless.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
I've sat with folks at BHOP and helped them explain the stuff that they were going through with those medical providers, helping people get an appointment scheduled, going to family advocacy, not for the bad stuff, but for the classes that they have, new parenting classes, what to expect. I mean, bringing the chaplain in and letting them influence the culture in the only ways they know how to. So, you know, there's a lot of things we can do. And I wrote an article about it, you know, about inviting the resources into the unit. You don't have to necessarily have them come to the unit and be a part of everything you do. But if you're having a barbecue or doing something like that, send an invite over to mental health, get those guys to come over and eat some burgers and some hot dogs. You know, same thing with AFRC, because, you know, the more I see these people as an airman, because I never seen them as an airman, the more I see them, more comfortable I feel to go up to them talking about some of the stuff I'm dealing with.
mm, mm,
That's how I feel about that.
mm. What you got, Elise?
Wow, he said
You
so
nailed
much.
it. It's okay to say, it's okay to piggyback. It's okay to
You can't say piggyback though. I seen the meme. You can't do it. The first certain piggyback.
All right now. Nah, it's oh my goodness, you said a mouthful there. It was almost like we have to normalize their appearance, their
Mhm.
presence being there, because the because it's almost like you look at it as something's wrong, or who did something, or man, this is punishment more than a resource.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, you know, that gave me an idea too. I was just like, wow, I didn't consider inviting, those folks or resources just to a regular squadron outing. You don't have to spotlight them. You don't have to say, hey, mental health is here, like, you know what I mean? You just bring them into the fold as a normal situation to where, you know what, sometimes you just need to, see it from a different lens. Let me see. There's a piggyback in the comments from the question saying, what about the commander's aspect? What advice do you have for those individuals? Because I don't, we may not be seeing them taking care of themselves also either. And, we know they work hard and all that, but it almost starts at the face of the organization. So from a first sergeant perspective, I know for me as an undershirt, I go to my boss and like, hey, sir, what time you leaving? It's 5 o'clock, what's your plans? That sort of thing. And kind of, we taking leave, what's going on? So, what do y'all do specifically for your triad or for your people?
Yeah. So with my commander, we have a great relationship, and just talk about what we're doing over the weekend, or, just talk with each other throughout the day, and just sit in each other's office and build that relationship. That's what we do personally with my previous commanders, and just see how they're doing. Because like you said, they have a big job. They make tough decisions at times, and it could be heavy for them. So I think it's important to just say, hey, how are you doing today? No matter if you're part of that triad or not, and just check in on them too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the amount of responsibility that goes on a commander is truly overwhelming, and they have to consider everything on top of guide the organization and all the people and taking everything. And they really lean on their CNCOs. They really lean on their CGOs and all their airmen, the feedback. And from all the commanders that I've worked with, honestly, they've always been open to feedback on how can I do this better, because they're just trying to do their best to do their best. And sometimes I've seen commanders, honestly schedule, like you look on their calendars and they have time blocked in different colors. And that kind of goes back to Franklin Covey's 5 choices to extraordinary leadership, of blocking out those things that are important to you. And that taught me how to go to my calendar, and every morning is PT, every, lunch and things of that nature. And I block those times out to make it important. And I know you don't always see that from a airman side. And I think, commanders definitely could do a little bit better of a job of promoting self-care from theirs, because, being a commander, even it's a 24/7 job. And I've seen commanders take back to back to back to back commands in certain career fields. And, that's a lot. And you can actually look at the individual and you can be like, I feel for you, and you can just tell they're doing their best just to hang on. And that's real talk, and as a shirt, you do your best to bring them food. I was famous for bringing banana bread to my commanders and things of that nature, just to make sure they're eating, just make sure they're doing those things, because they're working their hearts out to make sure everybody's taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's, if more airmen saw that was the case, then I think, maybe we shift how we take care of each other and how we project that. We take care of each other. We're all teammates. We're all family.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, that's the last part you said, is saying that we're all teammates, we're all family, right? We say we're family, but will we be the person that says, hey, it's time for you to do this? Hey, when you leave and when you're taking leave. And while it may feel intrusive, it's like it's that uncomfortable conversation of understanding that people have things about them that really highlight, like they're reaching that point. They're reaching that exhaustion, if it's, and it displays more outer than inner. And it's almost like you feel normal on the inside, but on the outside, like you're just complete mess. You know what I mean? So, and it's chances are, if you're around people more, which, like the first sergeant, you're around your triad more than anybody. So, when your boss is having a bad day, or when he or she is just like, I am not feeling it today. And then, and then for even who takes care of the people that take care of people? I always hear that question.
Mm-hmm.
Who helps the helpers? And for that aspect, we have to be also the people that do those same things. Easier said than done, but at least we know, right?
Yeah, shout out to all the caretakers and helpers out there for sure. I mean, you guys are all heroes to include.
The real MVPs.
Yeah.
Yes, we appreciate our mental health providers, our all the chaplains. I know the chaplains are under me, and even they may get a little tired, and I'm like, hey, y'all need to take some leave too,
Yes.
because this job is demanding. People's in communication of people's problems tends to pile on and elevate. So I think we touched on practice a lot of these questions about self-care, but what is your inspiration to live? And the reason I ask that is because I ask that to every guest that I talk to, is because on our page we have the suicide, the mental health awareness, all of these dynamics that tend to make us question ourselves, and it may eventually lead us to a dark place. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's true, to where we don't know what we want to do with our life, why we're here. So, what is y'all inspiration to live?
Mhm. Well, we all work really hard, right? And it's important. You've mentioned leave, and I know him and I have talked about leave a lot. It's important. You earn those 30 days a year. And I know with COVID, we've carried over quite a bit of that. Take your leave, even if you're sitting at home and just relaxing, just take it, right? And decompress, or go find somewhere you would like to travel to and really enjoy yourself. So our inspiration is we love to get out, whether it's out of the area or out of the home, out of work, and take that leave when we really know we're like reaching our limit, and just go experience new things, create new memories through adventures, taking care of people, of course. That's definitely inspirational for us. We really enjoy that. And it re-energizes both of us to know that we can take care of folks.
Yeah.
I mean, look, hey Rob, look, you don't have to say much. You don't have to say much.
This is why she's my better half. That's all I'm saying. Like, as you notice, like in the conversation, I have a story of how not to do it and what I've learned from it. And then she's like, I'm doing it and killing it and having a great time. She's amazing. So when this was hard for me to answer, because I try to speak to the audience here, and before I go into the inspiration, storms are going to happen in life happens. A lot of people might be in that storm right now. A lot of people might not know where the light is, or walking in darkness, or how far down they actually made it, and we're there for them. For me, after I've come out of a lot of these storms and weathered plenty of them, it's knowing that I'm making a difference. I believe honestly that I'm serving a greater purpose than myself by helping others and giving back as many have done for me. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for the billion other second chances out there. I'm just surprised that I've made it this far in life, and it's just my goal to give back. That's my inspiration to do what I do. And I'm a walking example. That's why you see self-care tips every week. My goal this year is to post one every week on Monday, so I can motivate myself and hopefully help others go forward. So, that's truth.
Amazing. And we all about truth here on AFWO, okay? Because it's just a matter of how we're really feeling, how we're feeling, what we're thinking, being human, having bad days, having good or having bad moments, not so good ones, embracing all of it, understanding that, you got another day tomorrow to try again, and that it's not over, until it's over. So I appreciate y'all sharing that. The next thing, and bear with me because my iPad keeps going out. Technology. Ooh, wait. Okay. Experiences with mental health, positive and or negative. And I put that question on there because I've had a mixed bag. I've seen the mixed bag. I go to mental health, I get a great experience, I come out, I'm squeaky clean, I'm all fixed up. And then I go to mental health, they were overstaffed, they really couldn't see me, or I felt like it didn't help me. I went one time and then I didn't go back. Or number two, unless I had, suicidal ideations. They couldn't really see me at the time. And I kind of just gave up because in that moment, I knew that, um, I wanted somebody to talk to. Like right now, the emotions were raw. And most people come to those outlets already in crisis, right? Already in that moment of feeling an emotion. So like I just need somebody to talk to right now. I just need somebody to talk to right now. And then, oh shoot. Sorry. Real here. Anyway, I need to talk and I need to get this out. But right now I can't get to mental health because quote unquote they're busy or I gotta fill some paperwork out. So what is y'all experience been?
Yeah, for me, I've had various members experiencing hardships or just they're trying to navigate through issues and they go to mental health. I've been with them, I've escorted them, all kinds of stuff because, I want them to find that healthy. And like you said, we're not professionals. So I have seen great outcomes from mental health and my folks that have reached out to them. And whether that's Military One Source, mental health, the chaplain, I mean, the whole gamut of resources that I've seen great things. And I think too, it's important to know that maybe someone isn't the best fit. Like you said, like they go once and then they're like, oh gosh, that was not for me, or, whatever that may be, or whatever that may look like, but maybe give it another shot with somebody else that might be a better fit for personality or for whatever, someone might be looking for.
Mm.
One time might not be enough to really evaluate if it's
Sort of like it feels like matchmaking, right?
right.
Like seriously, it feels like that you're just trying to find like that square that fits. And
Mhm.
so, try it, you didn't like it. Like, but understand that that's cool, because what we don't want, we hope, that I've also heard people try it once and then later go back and
Mhm.
it worked that time. You know what I mean? So discouraged, like don't get discouraged by this stuff.
Mhm. Agreed.
Let's analogize for a minute. Going off the cuff here. Facing that monster in your head, facing that monster that you're dealing with, that loop, that thing. Ask yourself the honest question: do I want to face a big monster? Or do I want to face a little monster?
Mm.
Minimum. Let's try to put this back in the container here. When you look at self-care, and that's a drum that I definitely want to beat here. There are a lot more resources that are more readily available to talk to than just mental health. And a lot of folks, that's what I'm saying, like the MFLAG is 100% the right person. And they have the training to make sure in the relationship with mental health to get them there if they need to. But a lot of times, if they're in that raw stage, calling the mental health, calling the chaplain, or even the phone call to the operator at Military One Source, or the text to talk, I've seen the interview on that one, and or whomever, having the courage to reach out to there is usually the toughest first step. So kudos to all those folks out there doing that. But self-care is definitely saying, you know what, I'm going to go do it, and I'm going to follow through with that, because change is tough.
Mm.
And when you're fighting that monster and you're ready to bring that monster outside and duel with them and let someone else carry that bucket of water, or help you cope with that bucket of water a little bit better, or minimize it, or make it smaller and more comprehensible. You have so many different things going on because it is such a traumatic experience for what you're dealing with. So when you're fighting that monster, you're going there and saying, hey, I need help with this monster, and we're going to get there. And it's important to make sure you're talking to the right people. Maybe mental health isn't the right person to deal with a breakup over a boyfriend or a girlfriend or something like that. But so many times, because of mission or not going out there, that they let that fester up for so long that it turns the monsters like this big, and then they get there and they go in for their initial health assessment, and then they didn't get the instant gratification that need. But that stuff's a process. And I've gone through so many counseling sessions for all the over 100 deaths that I've had to deal with as a first sergeant, all the grieving counseling, all the things, empath stuff. And I can tell you it's a process, and you have to give it its time. You have to give it its opportunity to work itself out. It's not an instant fix by no means. And, it's how seriously you can take it, and are you going to keep going back? And honestly, if everybody went to mental health, then I would say that mental health would be overrun because they would just have to shut down, but if you utilize all the other resources like finances, you got to get to the root of your own problem. Is it my neck's hurting? And then all of a sudden I'm not sleeping. And then, I had a boyfriend or girlfriend break up with me or some of these other things. And then all of a sudden I owe like $10,000 and my credit card bill's out of debt. And now I got to deploy, all the things. Things compound really fast, and it's really hard. Things you got to control and turn into a bigger monster. So when I talk about self-care, it's legitimately just reaching out and asking for help at a lower level. And there's plenty of resources out there to do that. We don't need to wait until it becomes that giant monster to fight.
True story. And it's when you talk about monsters, and I was telling you I have anxiety and PTSD, and so I quote unquote have my alias for my anxiety. Like I like Marvel movies or DC comics or whatever, so I think of it as a Hulk aspect, a Hulk experience. And so it's like, okay, me and the Hulk are gonna we trying to fight today, but the Hulk is not gonna win, but it is in the motivational aspect of like just understanding that look, we most of us are in a fight every day, all day, at every minute. And so, like you said, lower level, like it doesn't have to be as to go into a mental health provider, but understanding that you have choices. You can try different things, just like you try different things on the menu at a fast food restaurant. Like you're not going, you don't like the cheeseburger, fine, get the chicken nuggets. You know what I mean? So
Grogu.
Exactly. Awesome. I really like that reference that y'all made. So quotes to live by. Y'all got a good quote for us?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Go for it.
All right, so mine, and this is what I usually use in my professional life, but it also ties very much into self-care and what we've been talking about. And it's get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And for me, that's where growth happens professionally. And then I started thinking about it, like I told you, in the self-care aspect. But initially, in seeking out self-care, I think it takes a certain amount of courage to whether talk to somebody or go try a new hobby, an outlet to just refocus ourselves. It's a bit uncomfortable in assessing ourselves. Maybe, like I told you, I'm burying my head in the sand. I don't want to know, all my stressors. I don't want to think about those. Yeah. But really, that's where we start to find our comfort level and start to feel better when we address those things. So it might be a little uncomfortable at first, but eventually find that comfort level. And I'll tell you, and y'all have been saying it too, we all weather our own storms. And it's really shocking too, when we go through it, we don't really want to talk about it much. But once we get through it, we found coping skills to do so. We're actually really relatable to people who are going through probably very similar things. And we can really help one another out by sharing those stories with each other. I've noticed that. Oh, I've been there, done that. Yep. Like, let me share what happened with
like that checklist from earlier. Like it wasn't, none of us were sitting back here like can't relate. Yeah. Nope, not me. Like, like it's just life, it's reality, So get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Okay, that's always like that one. What you got, Rob?
Well, you know how problems, they don't necessarily go away, they just go to the next person. Family issues or medical issues and things of that nature. And storms come and go. From talking from a guy who anxiety and a whole bunch of other stuff, for me, it was really hard because I share quotes all the time. I literally spent the whole time trying to figure it all out. But my quote's actually a Bible verse. And to me, that's probably the most important part of all this. This was shared to me when I first got saved over a decade ago. And it's Matthew 6:33. First seek the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things will be given to you. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. And, of all the things we try to put our minds into everywhere else, things we can't control, what we can control is what we focus on. And that's your attitude and reaction. And self-care is definitely the first thing that you can control. You ever hear them say PT test is the only thing you have control over the Air Force, your fitness level and things of that nature? Well, self-care is definitely one of those things. And I'm not discrediting some things that people just don't have control over, like EFMP stuff or cancer or some just tragic things, but how you look at self-care can definitely help you cope and hopefully to better days.
And again, and man, back to what Lee said, self-care being preventative, being a
Mhm.
preventative action. And so when those traumatic issues come, like you're not boiling over. You're not boiling over, feel like the water is rising on you. Versus you take it a little bit, like not saying you're gonna be 100% good, but taking a little bit better in stride.
Mhm.
Like I'm cool. Versus the crisis, the feeling like it's astronomical. So yeah, so that those are awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Um, all right, the page loves books, audiobooks, podcasts, or any recommendations for learning material. What do y'all have for that?
So there's a million things that are out there. Some things they're specific that definitely used on our own. There's a book out there. It's called Feeling Good by David Burns. It's for people who don't want to get help or who want help but are afraid to take that first step to counseling or anything like that. Basically, it's a real life examples of people who dealt with stuff and how they overcame it. It started with growth mindset and a whole bunch of other things. It's really great, very relatable book. Another book called The Outward Mindset by the Arbinger Institute. Another book by David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me.
Yeah,
All of those focus on mindset and overcoming stuff. Now getting to the cool stuff, cooler, like when I was going through my tough time in Korea, I literally watched Goalcast every single day. Like I'd go home and just pop on and just watch a couple minute videos. And basically it's very inspirational stories of celebrities and a whole bunch of other people who've overcome very many things to trauma, hardships in their lives and how they became successful. And to me, as I was going through my hardship, I was like, man, I could really use a good example. Um, Apps wise, right? Sleep stories and meditation. I use the Calm app. And then there's also the Abide app as well. If you're uh, for the Christian mindset, yoga is important, right? Stretching, mobility. So downward dog, it's free for military.
Sorry. So the downward. I say the yoga aspect because I say few because it's the stretching aspect where you feel like not only the breathing and the calmness, but man, just the release of the physical aspect. So shout out to people who do yoga because some of us ain't flexible like that.
Yeah,
You don't sit there.
I cried this morning. Like
You
it was
did
tough. I forgot we're still on Facebook Live, but like legitimately, like that stuff hurts. Like, yeah, I'm not as mobile as I used to be, but I know how important it is because two bad knees and a back surgery, you got to stay mobile. For people with anxiety and panic attacks and insomnia, there's a book out there called Dare, and then there's an app, the Dare app, and those are like SOS panic buttons basically, and it'll walk you through some techniques to help yourself out. And then for folks who PCS to places all over, one of my favorite apps is actually All Trails. And that's a hiking app or biking app or however you want to use it. And you literally just pop on the map, you find some trails, you go out there and explore, and you just be mindful. And that's one of the most important things that I like to do. We like to do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so is that a collective, like y'all collaborated on that listing?
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
No, this is literally the first time I've done two people on, so trust me, I'm not being awkward. I promise you. But okay, so we will definitely, I will definitely probably need that in a written form if possible,
I
and
got
then I posted to the post of the Facebook video so our members can see what the books are out there because those were great descriptions, and I always take these book recommendations for myself as well. So we are reaching the conclusion of this thing. And so, what message do you have for our AFWO membership? I normally give my guests the opportunity to speak on, any type of inspirational stuff that they want to say, messages or any of that, because ultimately you also bring a wealth of knowledge to this page also. And so we want to hear what you have to say about that. So the floor is yours.
Okay. self-care is important in our everyday life because we find balance. I feel it improves mood, it decreases stress, and just creates an overall better well-being and happiness.
Message to all you guys out there. First, I want to say thank you for all your support over the past couple of years. You guys have been inspirational. I love the community aspect of what you're doing. So, ma'am, thank you for all you do on your extra spare time to take care of people and take care of yourself. So I kind of wrote down a couple of things because I couldn't put down in one sentence. So self-care starts with you being honest with yourself. No matter what you're going through, you can only control your attitude and reaction. Second, know your limits. Third, guys, give yourself grace. Be human. Fourth, take a leave. Take your leave. Take a break. Take a knee. Take your leave. It's important. It's so important.
Sound like it was in caps. Definitely in caps. Take your leave.
Yes. Especially with the new rules and regulations that are out there in this role and stuff. Don't be that person. Be like, I don't know. Just go take your leave. It's there. And if you don't take it, they're going to take it from us. So go take your leave. Know your resources. Okay. I talked about a whole bunch of them and there's so many more. As a first sergeant, I was learning new ones every day. Reach out to your shirt if you don't know. Please, please, please be resourceful. Learn those resources. Utilize them. Hit stuff at lower levels than instead of letting things pile up. One of the greatest things that an MFLAC ever told me was practice every day setting boundaries, being assertive, and doing one thing for yourself for self-care. That's what actually got me out of my situation in Korea. And every decision I've made since then has been honestly the best decision of my life. Hence, that's why I'm where I'm at right now and very happy about that. And then no matter whatever storm you're going in, believe in yourself. You can get through it. If I can get through the stuff that I've gotten through, and everybody else, you can do the same thing. We can do this together. If you're struggling, reach out. We got you. Because honestly, self-care looks different for everyone for various situations. Storms are always going to come, but don't suffer in silence. We all have stories and yours is just as important. Thank you so much for allowing us to share our story and spending time with you to focus on self-care with Red Square.
With Red Square. Man, what a line. I love it. I love it. I have a closing remark for the AFWO family before we go ahead and just close out this interview. First of all, I want to thank Elise and Rob for coming on here today. We greatly appreciate them. And the self-care aspect was extremely important, or it is extremely important, because our body is only challenged to do certain levels of what it's capable of. But the mind can go as far as we allow it to go, which means that you can feel like you're running a race already that you didn't even know you were running until you were already halfway in it. Those with anxiety, depression, with any type of personality disorder, any type of mental health issue, just flat out stress, burnout. I add burnout into that because while it may not be considered a diagnosable mental health aspect or condition, it very much contributes to how we behave, how we think, how we sleep, how we live our lives, how we treat people, how people treat us. Having self-awareness. I got a foot stomp that one because we don't know what we're doing until we're doing it. And also, if you see somebody else that's hurting, it's okay to be that person to say, hey, look, man, I see you, I see her, I see him. Let's make it happen. I've had so many people do it for me that I can't even thank them enough to help me recognize where I was at in my life. And so, self-care can start with just a little thing. It can start with meditation. It can start with pausing for 5 minutes before you open your email. It can start with just taking that deep breath when you first wake up and saying, I'm here. And I'm happy to be here. So today I like this the best because just because of the fact that it's about us as individuals, as human beings inherently. There is no one, people can benefit in second and third order effects, but ultimately the hugest benefactor is the person that you look at the mirror every day. So self-care AFWO, please take care of yourselves. And on that note, I want to thank Rob and Elise for coming on again. This was so awesome. Thank y'all so much for being up here. If there's any questions that weren't answered or any comments that you got for these two, then by all means put it in there. They'll go through the comments and they will answer your questions or respond to your comments if you would like. But until then, Air Force Wingman Outreach at gmail.com. Please reach out to us. We want to help you. And as we talked about today, self-care, there's resources out there. You are not alone. We are with you. We love you. And we are out of here. AFWO.